Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this video we're going to be looking at Star Wars The Mandalorian Bo-Katan Kryze by Medicom toy MAFEX. This is the newest Star Wars figure in the MAFEX line and it's their number 208 action figure. I was really looking forward to this because even though I feel like the Black Series version is really good, this one beats it, or at least should beat it, not just because of the price but because of the quality that you usually get with these MAFEX figures. So before we take a look at the figure and all the comparisons, let's quickly take a look at the box. So this is a standard MAFEX packaging with a huge window showing us the figure and all the accessories that are included. We have a nice promo shot of Bo-Katan here, Star Wars The Mandalorian MAFEX Bo-Katan Kryze, MAFEX number 208. On the side we get a nice promo shot of the figure, and then here is the back with few different poses and showing off the accessories that are included, interchangeable helmet and unhelmeted head, and then this is the other side of the box. Here is the top, legalese at the bottom. So let's open up the box and let's take a look at the figure. And just quickly, when you open up the box you get this mid-store symbol here and a text saying this is the way, and you can see a nice image of Bo-Katan on the inside of the box. So here is our MAFEX Bo-Katan out of the box, and right away I have to say that I love the overall look, I love the proportions, the size of the head looks good in relation to the rest of the body, the colors and just overall sculpt do look really good. The figure looks natural, looks like a real person shrunk down to 6-inch scale. Here on the back we can see the port for her jetpack, but we'll get to that. But now let's take a closer look at the details. So here is a look at the head sculpt, and I must say that, at least for me, the likeness is really good. They did a beautiful job, not just on the sculpt, but with painting the head. The skin tone is really nice, the eyes are really well and precisely painted, the lips as well, and then this silver piece that she wears on her head is nice, metallic looking, and the hair, they gave it a wash, there is a dark wash in it, so all of these sculpted details pop out, which is really good. So the rest of the body also looks really good. You get a lot of nicely sculpted details, like for example here on the undersuit, on the neck, you can see the texture and sculpted lines, and then the chest armor is also nice and metallic looking. Here is the shoulder armor with printed symbol on it, and here is the other one as well. The arms are nicely sculpted. All of these technical details on the gauntlet is also well done, and same goes for the other arm. And I mean, look what a good job they did just on this belt and the holsters. Yeah, the sculpt is there, but I mean, not just the painted buckle, but the wash that they gave just brings out all of these details, gives much more life to this sculpt so that it really looks like it's some kind of leather material. These pieces here are painted silver on both sides. Here is the back of the figure. As I already mentioned, this is a huge hole for her jetpack, and then the pants are really nicely sculpted with all of these stitches going down her legs, the wrinkles, and then the armor on her thighs also looks metallic and shiny. These stitched up pieces here are also well done, and then the knee pads and the shins down here that are also weathered. They look dirty and used, which is great. Then the boots and these straps going around the boots are also painted, so everything looks really good. The boots even have that leathery texture, and they are kind of shiny. But I mean, overall they really did a phenomenal job in terms of sculpt and paint on this figure, so I'm really satisfied with what I'm seeing here. And because the main thing here is the head sculpt, at least for me, let's compare this MAFEX one with the Black Series. I mean, let's do that right away. So this is the original Black Series Bo-Katan, and at the time when this figure came out I felt like this is one of the best head sculpts that Hasbro has ever done, and I still think that this is a nice likeness to the actress, but now in comparison to MAFEX I feel like MAFEX did a better job. And again, that's just me, that's just my opinion. I think that the hair especially looks much better on the MAFEX one. The main reason being that the helmeted head is interchangeable with this one, while Hasbro sculpted the hair this way because the helmet goes over the head. And again, both figures look really good, but I would say that that just in terms of the head sculpt, I prefer the MAFEX one. And then for the rest of the body, you can see that the colors are not the same. MAFEX uses like a brighter blue color, while the Black Series one is a bit darker and much more weathered. And on the other hand, the chest armor is much darker on the MAFEX one, while Hasbro's is lighter. And then for the belt, you can see how much better MAFEX did the belt. Hasbro's is plain and looks plasticky. Here are the legs, different shade of blue. Here is the back of the figure. MAFEX still doesn't have jetpack on, but we'll get to that when we talk about the accessories. Overall, both great figures. It's just the matter of what you prefer. And for me, now that I see them like this side by side, I would say that overall I prefer MAFEX. Now let's take a look at her accessories. First, as all MAFEX figures, she comes with this certifying genuine product certificate piece of paper that tells you that you have a genuine original figure and not a KO. And then also, as all the MAFEX figures, Bo-Katan comes with a MAFEX stand. And this is something that you have to assemble yourself. It's really easy. I always use these MAFEX stands in my posing videos. She comes with her helmet, and as I already mentioned, this can't go over the head. This is an interchangeable piece, so you have to take off the unhelmeted head and then put this one on the body. And the sculpt and the paint here is really nice and sharp. This aiming viewfinder does articulate. It's on a hinge, so it can move down like this, and it's really sturdy. Be careful not to break this if you have this figure or messing around with it, because at first I even thought that this doesn't move at all, but it is just stiff. Here is the side of the helmet, and then the back of it. As you can see, everything is really nicely sculpted and weathered, and all of these markings are precisely painted to the point where some of them look artificial. I mean, I know that everything here is artificial, but it looks artificial more than it probably should, if you know what I mean. It looks like you get a black blob with a few white dots on it. And even these scratches, they painted a black line and then a white line underneath so that it looks kind of three-dimensional, you know. But I mean, I'm not complaining. Overall, I'm satisfied. It looks good. We have some paint chipping here in the front, and here is how the bottom of the helmet looks. They even sculpted some of these details here, which they didn't have to do, but they did it. And we can compare it with the Black Series one, and you can see that MAFEX one looks a bit smaller in comparison, and that is because this is an interchangeable piece, and Hasbro had to stretch out the helmet a little bit because it has to go over the head, as already mentioned. Here is a look at both of them from the side, and then here is the back, and you can see that Hasbro didn't paint this piece here. That should be silver, and MAFEX did that. The weathering is not there on Hasbro's helmet, even though some scratches and markings are sculpted, but they are not painted, and that's why they are not as visible as they would be if there was a little bit of wash on the helmet. Both companies did a great job with the budget with which they were creating this. It's just a matter of your own preference. Here is Bo-Katan's jetpack that also has a really nice and sharp sculpt. All of the details are really well done. These small lines and ridges, and even the paint is really nicely applied. I mean, these orangish triangles look like they are metallic and shiny, and I love that. There is a little bit of gold here on this small piece, and then here is the inner side of the jetpack that pegs into the back. Here are the ports, a missile up here, and we can compare this MAFEX jetpack with the Black Series one. It's smaller, and the details are much sharper, and paint is also better, of course. Hasbro's again is not weathered, and these triangles are missing. But for me, the biggest issue with Hasbro's version is the fact that there are no peg holes in the jetpack. They closed it up. They didn't even give us the opportunity to use some of their flame effects that came with some other figures in the line. But on the other hand, MAFEX did give us peg holes and 2 flame effects in this set. They just peg in like this. It looks really good. And again, you get a pair, of course. And the way to connect this, you just align the peg with the peg hole, push it in, it fits perfectly, and now we have our Bo-Katan with her jetpack. And since we are doing this, we can also check how she will look with the helmet. It's perfectly. And now we have our Bo-Katan with her helmet on and the jetpack. And when we compare her with the Black Series one like this is what we get. Again, I have to say that for me, Black Series version in this comparison looks much more stylized and almost animated, while the MAFEX version looks like a real person with much better proportions in a suit. I prefer this. She comes with a pair of her pistol blasters. You get 2 of these, of course, and this is a really nicely sculpted accessory and painted, so it does look shiny and metallic. The handle is painted in dark brown, and some of these details are also painted in different color. And here is the other side, it's the same thing. And so yeah, as most of the times, MAFEX did a great job here. She also comes with her knife that attaches to the gauntlet, and it's a simple sculpt, but there are also some details on it, few lines and different color for the blade. So all we need to do is remove this piece here on her right arm. You just put your fingernail here and remove this piece and then connect the one with the blade. And so now you have her using that weapon, and of course you can use some of the other hands that she comes with. But it looks good, it fits perfectly and no issues there. She comes with another interchangeable piece for that same gauntlet, and it's this grappling hook that is on a piece of wire. I assume that this is bendable, but I never want to bend these accessories on MAFEX figures. Well, first, I'm not sure if it will snap, and then secondly, if you bend it, you will probably never be able to get this back in this straight position. The grappling hook is really nicely painted in silver, the tip here, and then at the bottom here is that same gauntlet piece that you have to peg into the arm. And then she comes with few pairs of interchangeable hands. First there is a pair of relaxed hands that are on the figure, and then you get a pair of fisted hands, a pair of trigger finger hands, a pair of dynamic open hands, like force pushing hands, and then a pair of saluting hands, something like that. 2 fingers pointing, so this is something that we usually don't see with these action figures, so it's an interesting choice. It's always good to have options, so I'm not complaining. This is a nice addition. Let's now take a look at her articulation. So the head and the neck have double ball joint, so you get a nice range of tilt. She can look down this much, she can look up only this much, which is not that good for a flying character. The helmet hits her back and she can't move higher than this. The head can tilt side to side and rotate 360. Arms move out this much, and to get that range you have to be careful to tuck this shoulder piece underneath the butterfly joint. So that's how you get a better range of movement. Arms, of course, rotate 360. There is a butterfly joint, bicep swivel, and here is another issue. We get a single bend in the elbow. I'm not sure why they decided to do it this way. A lot of their other figures have a better range. That's a shame. But you do get a swivel in the elbow as well. For the wrist, it's a standard MAFEX joint, so the hand swivels and it does go in and out, up and down, however you turn that joint. For the torso, there are 2 cuts. One is behind this chest piece and the other one is here behind the belt. On the first one you get rotation, a little bit of forward and back movement, a little bit of tilt, and then the lower joint gives you much more movement side to side and a great tilt side to side, and then she can crunch forward this much. Back is even better, which is good because, as we saw, she has a problem with looking up. So with this crunch they kind of made it more tolerable. There is a drop down in the hips, and even though there are these armor pieces on the side of her legs, they are made of a softer plastic and they do go over the hips, so you can get the legs to move out this much. They move forward this much, back this much. There is a little bit of thigh swivel, double jointed knees, a rotation in the ankle, and here is another problem. The feet move forward only this much because they crash into this shin armor. The forward movement of the feet is this limited. limited. Back is also not that great, but it's better than forward. We do get an ankle pivot, but again, the ankle pivot is also kind of restricted, especially going in. Going out is good enough, but going in is kind of limited. And then you also get a toe joint. So that's it. I mean, for the most part, the articulation is good, but the limitations are in the head and the neck when you want to make her look up, the single bend in the elbow, and then probably the worst thing for me are the feet. Ankle joints should always have a great range because for the most part, those are the articulation points that are mostly needed for posing your figure in any kind of dynamic stance. It is still a fantastic release, but I would just prefer these joints to be a bit better. Now let's compare our MAFEX Bo-Katan with some other figures. Here she is with the latest MAFEX Boba Fett and the newest MAFEX Mandalorian. And as you can see, she scales pretty well with Mando, but Boba Fett on the other hand is too big. I don't know why they made him this tall. It is what it is. I mean, we talked about it when I reviewed this guy. But overall, they did a great job on her height, so she fits well with Mando. Here she is with the Black Series Ahsoka, and we already saw her next to the Black Series Bo-Katan. Here she is with the Black Series The Armorer and the Black Series Glavis Ringworld Mando. And again, you can see that she does fit perfectly even with the Black Series figures. And then finally, here she is with the Black Series Koska Reeves and the Black Series Axe Woes. This blue paint, which MAFEX went with, does work really good with both of these figures. They fit together perfectly. So that's a really nice surprise. And so all in all, I have to say that I'm extremely satisfied with this figure. For me, other than the ankles, everything else is really well made. And this Bo-Katan is now my ultimate Bo-Katan. The Black Series version is also a fantastic figure, especially for the price, but for me, seeing this figure now, and especially side by side with that Black Series one, I do prefer this. It's a shame that Medicom Toy didn't make this into a really ultimate version and gave us the interchangeable shoulder piece, her shield, and the Darksaber, but you never know, it can always happen. And if you're a fan of the Mandalorian and if you're a fan of this character, I would say that this is a must-have for your collection. I got this from Ami Ami. Now I'm looking forward to MAFEX Ahsoka. That should be released soon, and so we'll see what kind of job Medicom Toy did on that figure. Stay tuned for a posing video for this MAFEX Bo-Katan. That should be on the channel soon, and as always, special thank you goes out to my supporters on Patreon and to all the rest of you guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for being here with me, and I'll see ya in the next one.